There's a principle that I've learned over the last few years, and I'm not claiming it's universal. It doesn't apply to everybody. But if you're someone who wants to grow, reinvent yourself, and actually build a different life, this has been one of the harshest, most accurate truths I've ever experienced. Nothing really changes until you leave everything familiar behind. And this is not a travel changes you video. That's not the idea at all. And it's not because discomfort magically builds character. It's more about the idea that your familiar environment, whether you like it or not, it quietly freezes you in place. Think about it for a second. Every environment you've ever existed in was built by a previous version of you. Even the current environment you're in right now, who built it? It wasn't you today. Your current habits, your routines, your whole social identity, the way that people see you, and how you start to see yourself through their eyes. When you're trying to become someone new, those familiar layers become the resistance. You're trying to change inside the environment designed to keep you exactly the same. And that is the trap. And here's what I mean. People only know one version of you. And even without meaning to, they respond to that person. So your identity becomes anchored socially. And also, your environment mirrors your past, not your potential. And this is critical. The same streets, the same routines, the same energy, the same narrative, the same friends. As a result of all of this, it becomes almost impossible to perform a new identity in the same place where the old one is still active. And it's not got anything to do with the fact that you're weak. It's just simply because the environment keeps feeding that old script. It's a reinforcement loop. And once you start trying to break it, you feel the friction. And here's another thing. Comfort kills friction, but it also kills transformation. Comfortable doesn't feel dangerous, but it quietly suffocates growth. This is why so many people say they want to change, but they actually never do. They never leave the systems that define who they currently are. And I went through this personally. When I was living in Melbourne, my life was great on paper. I had a comfortable, brand new modern apartment with a view of the city. My income was decent. I had a relatively stable job with low stress, and I had a good social network around me. But that comfort came as a cost. You know, everybody knew me as Liam, the finance guy who works at X company. That's the role that I played. And that version of me existed in other people's heads, whether I liked it or not, whether I wanted to change it or not. So even when I started to think about building something bigger, a business, a different identity, a different trajectory in my life, there was this invisible friction, not because people doubted me, like it's not malicious at all. It was simply because the environment didn't recognize the version of me that I was trying to become. And that's where I realized the truth. It's extremely hard to reinvent yourself in a place that only knows who you currently are or who you used to be. Even your own mind will start to reject this new idea, this new you, who you want to become, because everything around you reinforces the old one. And that's really when I understood. If I stay here, nothing is going to change in any meaningful way. And this is something that I've seen over and over again. You try and build new habits, it might tick over to a new year and you go, new year, these are going to be my goals, this is going to be my year, I'm going to change things. But you don't change your environment, and the old routines and the old habits quietly pull you back. You try to think bigger, but your surroundings reflect a smaller identity. You try to raise your standards, but nothing around you supports those standards. And you try and become someone new, but ultimately you're surrounded by people who only recognize the old version. And you feel the cognitive dissonance. In your head, you're like, I want to be this. And then you go hang out with your friends and they've known you always as this. And it's like, it reinforces that old version that you're trying to escape from. That environment has inertia, and the inertia is stronger than your intention. At least for me, that's been true every single time. The biggest changes in my life have always come immediately after I took a massive action to change my environment, usually a one-way flight to a different country, or at least a different city. For example, the biggest single turning point in my entire life was a one-way flight that I booked to New York City. I arrived in New York and immediately realized no one here knows me. No one. No one has any expectations. No one that I meet will see me through the lens of who I used to be. There's no social gravity, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. And there's no environmental cues pulling me back into previous patterns. There's no influence. It was the first time in my entire life that without any friction whatsoever, I could decide who I actually wanted to become. And the shift happened violently fast because there was literally nothing pulling me back. And here's what I came to believe from this. When you remove familiarity from your operating system, your behavior becomes intentional by default. You literally rebuild your entire life from zero, and everything is deliberate. I'm talking about your routines, identity, your habits, your social context. You recalibrate your entire sense of possibility. You stop performing who you were, and you start building who you want to become. And you realize something very quickly. The real friction wasn't in the change itself. It was in staying in a place that didn't support that change. And you don't need to leave everything behind. That's not the idea. Leaving everything familiar does not mean changing geographies. That's just one strategy. For some people, it might just mean leaving that job that you're comfortable in, changing industries, ending relationships that just aren't working for you, moving apartments, moving suburbs, or moving cities, removing yourself from certain friend groups. That can be a big one. And simply deleting routines that belong to a past version of you. The point isn't to travel and see the world or find yourself. It's to rupture. It's to break. It's to burn the bridge and start somewhere fresh. The idea here is simple, and it's that you can't become the person that you want to be while you're living in the environment that's built by the person that you used to be that you're trying to bury. Now, I'm not saying that this is a rule for everyone, but I'm saying that this is a pattern that I have lived personally, and I've seen it over and over. When people want real change, or when I see somebody really change, it usually means they've left behind the systems that were keeping them as their previous self. And the moment you do that, you remove the familiarity that was anchoring your old identity all along, and you finally get the oxygen to become somebody new. Ultimately, nothing changes until you leave everything familiar. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I drop one like this every 48 hours, and I hope to see you in the next one.